But I've made some really ridiculous hands in the past. I've done a Lekman EXE who has very, very large, long fingers.
Got it.
And for what I did with that was instead of doing the wire, I actually took pieces of the foam sheets and I made long finger shapes, and then took a piece out where my fingers would slip in a glove, and then I would take on, say if you're looking at it from the top and you've got your flat foam sheet, I took the upholstery foam and glued it onto each side and trimmed it where it was like a finger. And it just fit around like that, and then my finger was inside. So when I was to that stage, it actually looked like I had a bunch of bananas. So I took these bananas and I slipped them on the fingers of my glove and then put a stitch in, hold them in place, and then filled out the rest with upholstery foam around and then batting in between the joints where it needed to move. And so I ended up with these huge flexible arm things where you had finger movement, but they were like at least that much longer than my fingers and that much wider than my hand.
It's like having paper towel tubes on your fingers.
But I mean, it's stuff to keep in mind when you design your outfit. Is like, if I have that, I'll be able to move. Do I just want big hands to pose with? It's, you know, it's really up to your imagination and your will as far as what you want and what you're going to put up with to make it. As far as like large feet, when you make the big feet, you have to make sure that they will move and flex. Otherwise, you're pulling this kind of number, trying to get around. With the armor, someone starts to stand up. I gave it flexible toes, so it'll actually go up when you walk. That's just a boot cover that fits over a platform. And I know that if you have a rigid foot, again, you're not going to be able to bend it, so you have to be walking on your heels all ridiculous. So I made it where it had the flexible toes. So when you walk, the actual toe looks like that. In this case, it's just foam, and it's just a foam sheet, crap foam sheet with a bunch of upholstery foam around it, so that when it pushes, it just squishes right back into shape. So you can actually just strut and not worry about falling over.
How many layers are in that?
How many layers of upholstery foam, craft foam?
Yeah.
As far as craft foam, the sole is actually about to here, so that's going to be about 3 sheets of the thicker stuff. The heel is a little higher, that's about 5, and then I had just big chunks of upholstery foam down under there. I don't have the time. It's after 6.
It's a little after 6, about the quarter after.
Give me questions, guys. I'm here to help you.
You pretty much covered most of it.
You're that awesome.
Too bad you can't just inject the knowledge right into our heads so we can run off and do it.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what these YouTube.
Well, the knowledge is one thing, the experience is another.
Yeah, it is a lot of trial and error. It's not something where it's a couple of weeks from the convention and you're like, I'm going to make that Gundam.
No. Like you start after this con and hope for the next con.
Well, it depends on when your next con is the thing.
Yeah.
Here. 6 weeks for this one, right? What? 6 weeks for this one? 6 weeks for this one? Yeah, this one took 6 weeks. A lot of that time being taken up just with making prototypes, figuring out how things move. Like I said, I had never done that before. And I just was putting pieces together, trying to figure out what would move, what would hold together. Exactly. I didn't have anybody to help me, so to put arms on it would be like, I'll just push myself against the door and yeah. But yeah, so you need time for trial and error to make your prototypes, to get used to the size of it, to see what works. Because like I said, you don't want any unfortunate mishaps at the convention or anything that's going to be dangerous, not just to yourself but to those around you. You really need to keep that in mind. Also, you need to check as far as the weapons policy and costume limitation policy as far as size at your conventions, because a costume like this might be fine in most places, but others might consider the wings too hard or something like that. So you
Or
just
too wide.
yeah,
There
you
are
just need to
size
keep in mind.
constraints also on the
Yeah.
some conventions.
For like 3-finger gloves, I guess you just sort of trace it with fingers on, or is there some method to that?
Oh,
Like for
three-finger
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, 3-finger gloves for Ninja Turtles, since yeah, that's basically the size you want to go with.
Well, yeah, including the thumb.
Yeah, because
I count the
I know what you mean by 3-finger. It's cool. Yeah, for something like that, it's basically the size. Like your biggest challenge here would be getting the thumb about the same proportion as the fingers there. So you would have to build that out a little more, so it's not 2 fat fingers and a skinny thumb. But yeah, because I mean, really, the only other way that I see as far as fingers like that is like large one here, smaller one here, or someone is making something with like a flippery type shape or something like that. So yeah, it's the same basic thing. It's just building it up with the foam or the batting around your gloves, and then covering it in fabric or whatnot. So I have a room full of people. Ah, good.
Alright, I've seen some costumes that incorporate like LEDs and stuff into this. How would you work the electronics?
Well, it really depends on the extent that you want your lights.
Tron.
Okay.
Yell wire all over the
For a lot
place.
of basic lights for costumes, you can simply take a tap light and put it in. As far as LEDs, you can get the LED lights at Radio Shack. You can order them on the internet. As far with the wiring, it's you want a central battery pack somewhere that's going to be hidden, and you want to put your lights. And you don't want to just you can't just stick them in the foam, let's just say. So you need to have a board to actually put them in. And at the same time, you need to make sure it's in a place that's not going to be sticking you or in the way of your movement. They actually, for those of you that don't want to actually get into like the wiring of the LEDs themselves, you can get a lot of already wired LED puck lights and things like that you can just flip a battery switch on. Think of, well, how am I going to wire this, and things like that. The same thing goes with, say you're making a very thick foam costume and you wanted to put some air in it, you can get laptop fans and stick it in the back of your head or in the back area, and actually have them in there to draw the air out and have a battery pack. A friend of mine actually has a battery pack that she can take out of one head and put in others. It's just detachable so that she can not have to make it over and over again when she does her fan.
And like interchangeable shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Like
The
the
build really good
interchangeable
stock
shoes.
I think.
Pink.
But
Yeah.
all of, as far as wiring
because she has all those mascot
of
costumes.
the lights
Fans.
or the fans like that, there's
Especially
all
fans
kinds
that
of
are
excellent
making
tutorials that can go along with the type of thing you're making, whether it be armor or putting it into large foam costumes on the internet. Like I said, on fursuit.org, cosplay.com. There's also a really nice armor place called alleycatscratch.com. So it's just, like I said, it's just as far as you want to take it. Oh, sorry, I thought you were raising a question. You just have to keep in mind how many lights you can light up to a battery, because you might end up with so many lights and then a huge, heavy battery pack where you're not be able to get around. But
It would be easier to do that with multiple battery packs.
exactly, it's something that you need to spread around if you're going to have a lot of lights. And again, you have to keep in mind where your batteries are going to go. Even if they're like little watch batteries, you still want them out of your movement and out of your joints and things like that.